We have to have people in control that actually believe there is a God and there are eternal consequences for the things that you do.
You can do as much evil as you see fit, and as long as it's self-serving.
You got to put your money where your mouth is now, because you're telling all these pastors to get involved with the government.
You would think that person whose entire career is based on learning the needs of their community would be the best person to give resources like that. If you don't have that set of values to fall back on that are divinely inspired, then you are left with rules provided by the state or with your own internal desires guiding what direction you push yourself in. And it's led to some very, very negative consequences for our country.
And the thing that kept coming back to me is to make...
I'm Dr. Aury Nagy, running for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District, running to remove Susie Lee. I'm here today with Dr. Howell Shaw. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely. I appreciate being here.
So I understand you are running for county clerk.
Correct.
Can you tell us what the county clerk does?
Yes. Well, as it turns out, in most places, county clerks are responsible for voter registration and all that kind of stuff. I wish that were the case for Clark County.
Okay.
But because Clark County is so huge, they actually have a completely separate department just for voters,
Okay.
voting and that kind of thing. So what's left over for the clerk's office in Clark County are things like the wedding certificates, wedding licenses, your doing business as fictitious name statements. Also, we handle the notary public sorts of things as a clerk, and then we also keep track of all of um, the minutes and such from the Clark County commissions, that kind of thing.
Now that's a big deal.
So it's kind of a big deal.
Well, you kind of get to record the truth.
Well, as best as we can. Yeah,
That's pretty fantastic. What made you want to run for that position?
Well, actually, it's a very interesting journey. For me, I've been more of an advocate. I've been trying to, get people to go and vote. For me, as a pastor, I've realized that the church has been missing from this conversation.
Absolutely true.
True, right?
Yes,
And
so
it's
true.
all because of this lie. Well, it's true partially, but not the way people understand it. Separation of church and state,
Yeah.
right? Because it is true. Thomas Jefferson did write there is this great wall between the church and the state. However, the progressives have reframed the whole thing to basically say that the church can't be part of the state, whereas Jefferson actually meant it to be the other way around, the whole way. Yeah, because remember, the founding fathers are coming from a place where in Great Britain there was only one church, the Anglican Church, and if you weren't part of that, you were basically thrown out.
True.
So they didn't want a church-sponsored religion or even denomination, because that was his true definition of the word religion at that point.
So they didn't want a government-sponsored religion like the Anglican Church?
Exactly.
I see.
Where the king or the president or whoever would be both the chief of the government as well as of the faith.
Well,
right?
makes a ton of sense.
It makes a ton of sense, right? And that's what they would always meant it to be. And remember, a lot of these people that came to America were escaping religious prosecution.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
and the more you find out, the more you realize that it was always the Christian faith. The religion they're talking about were literally the denominations. Like, right,
Yeah.
the Anglicans, obviously, that was the Church of England. But then, like the Presbyterians, the Baptists, the Congregationalists, they had no place to go, because that's the way that they felt that God was leading them to worship.
Sure.
And again, if they'd stayed in Great Britain, in England, they were persecuted,
Yeah.
and they literally escaped England to go and continue their faith. But when the opportunity came to be in America, they said, yeah, here's an opportunity for us to go and, practice our religion in peace. So that's where this whole thing came, but that's where that First Amendment came from, the uh, the free practice of your religion, and the state shall not encumber upon it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I said, though, the progressives had turned it all the way around, because progressives are basically, let's just say it, they're socialists, they're Marxists.
Yeah. No, very
They
much so.
they are trying to eliminate God from everything, because they want
That's
government to become God.
that is exactly right. I've been saying the same thing for a while now.
Yep.
It's,
Yep. It's the truth,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So,
because then who do you depend on? You don't depend on your family anymore.
mhm,
You don't depend there's no church leader, there's no God.
mhm.
That only leaves the state behind, and when you believe everything the state tells you, you get things like happened during COVID, where all the experts were, telling people things were killing them.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's awful.
It was terrible. So, with that all said, because the progressives understood that as long as the church had a voice in government, in politics, they would never get their way. So they had someone, Lyndon Johnson actually was the one
Okay.
that they used. Apparently, he made a deal because people at that time, he was a senator, I believe, at that point. They said, "We really need your vote for this certain bill." He said, "Okay, I'll give it to you if you do this one thing. Help me shut up the pastors here in Texas because they don't
Oh,
like me."
huh.
And so they came up with this thing called the Johnson Amendment, which is in the IRS tax code. So as a 501(c)(3), which most churches are, you're not allowed to endorse a candidate, to speak about political issues, anything like that from the pulpit.
Huh.
And that stood for the last almost 50 years.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 2 years ago that that whole regime was thrown out.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Because due to that rule, there's this whole thing called the lemon um, rule, where if you had an activity, it would actually go through this little checklist, and if you checked any of those off, then you couldn't do it, right? And so, how would you have a religious activity not be religious?
Yeah,
Because it had to be secular, right,
that's right.
in order for it to be okay. But the lemon rule, because remember, there's that guy named Joe Kennedy. He was that football coach up in Washington.
Okay.
He was the one that lost his job because he went to the 50-yard line after, the game and just knelt and prayed. He just thanked God. And all the kids would join him eventually, not, under duress or anything, but just because they wanted to. And because of that, somebody complained and basically he got fired for practicing his First Amendment right.
Yeah.
That made it, I mean, for 7 years that guy fought.
Huh.
7 years. I mean, obviously he lost a
Well,
job
that's
and
good.
everything like
That's
that.
good.
Finally got to the Supreme Court,
Okay.
and it was, Kennedy versus Bremerton High School, uh, um, department. They lost, and in that ruling, they threw out that whole lemon rule, uh, schema, which means now that anybody, even pastors, can express their full, endorsement of a candidate, even if it's in the pulpit, even if you're, a teacher in the classroom.
See, that's okay though, right?
That's excellent.
Because
Yes.
the thing is, and I've been thinking this for a while about the way we see fraud happening in the relief agencies that are out there. So the agencies that are out there trying to help the homeless
Mhm,
or help people with drug abuse problems.
mhm.
And you see that they're completely secular organizations, and then eventually they just get focused on making money,
Yep,
and they don't have to have anybody there who cares about the welfare of the person who's there.
that's right.
They can just be 100% focused on money. But it
Absolutely.
used to be that all of those organizations were faith-led organizations. And it was people who knew the most about their community and their
Mhm,
flock and all the people in it and where they were struggling.
mhm.
And they were able to rally their community members to provide help to these people.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so you would think that that person whose entire career is based on learning the needs of their community would be the best person to give resources like that to.
Absolutely correct.
Sort of distribute them in the ways that are gonna be beneficial. Yeah, does a person have to listen to some religion, when they're getting the faith? Yeah, but maybe that'll help them because clearly
Exactly.
clearly whatever they were working with before that led them to that situation wasn't working out very well.
That's correct.
So
And in
yeah.
terms of efficacy, these faith-based, programs, if you will, had a much, much higher rate, like in the 80s and 90%, whereas the secular ones, 20 or 30.
Well, and the reason that I kind of approach it from the fraud standpoint
Mhm,
is because in a secular organization, there is nobody there holding the leadership accountable except for people in the central government
mhm.
who really only care if maybe those people are donating money back to the politician who enabled the thing to happen.
Yep,
But
it's
in a
benefits.
faith-based organization, the community is holding their pastor accountable.
That's right.
Because the only reason the pastor's in that leadership position or has the funds to do other things with is because they see the good that that faith leader is doing,
Mhm.
and they continue to approve of it,
Mm.
so they see the good in the community.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's just much more effective use of funds, and it's a much more effective way to help people, it seems
Absolutely.
to me.
Absolutely. And actually it goes one level higher.
Okay.
And that is the founding fathers even said this too.
Okay.
We have to have people in control that actually believe there is a God and there are eternal consequences for the things that you do.
Now that I didn't know, but that makes so much sense.
That's why the founding fathers wrote the Constitution the way they did, because they believe that the leaders in this government have to have that sense of accountability. All right, it's one thing to be accountable to your board or even your flock and stuff, but you can hide a lot of stuff.
Yeah, if you're only accountable to yourself and you don't believe that there's any afterlife, you can do as much evil as you see fit,
That's right.
and, as long as it's self-serving,
Exactly right.
and as long as you can deceive or lie to people, right? Yeah, that's an astute observation. I
Yeah,
wasn't aware that that was in the, that was in the writings of the faith.
it's not in the writings per se, but it is. Well, the founding fathers, you can actually tell by their documentation
Okay.
and the minutes from their conversations regarding the Constitution, that that's all that they were thinking
Yeah.
about. Right, and even afterwards, after the Constitution came out, people would say, "What? How are we going to do this?" And Benjamin Franklin was famous for saying, I've got you a constitutional republic if you can keep it."
I'll tell you one of the if you can keep it is the important phrase there, right?
Yep.
Man,
Yep.
no, that's, a lot of forces at work these days trying to prevent that from happening,
Exactly.
trying to revert us back into a government control of really almost everything in society.
That's correct. That's correct.
There's a lot of institutions with a lot of money that are trying to hijack our government
Mhm.
to force us to stop competition, to
Mhm.
stop progress,
Mhm.
and to strip the country of assets to deliver basically to them
Yep.
through whatever means necessary.
That's correct. That's correct. But again, if they're godless people, that's all they got.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
No, agreed.
Yeah. So, anyways.
No, so I was really sad. I remember back in the '80s when they started writing Christmas was Xmas.
Mhm.
Right? I said, why? Why do
Mhm.
you have to do that? Right? I mean, so many people are so happy seeing Christmas. It's just Christmas, right? It's like, it's everybody's invited
Right.
to Christmas.
Exactly.
And it was a growing up here, it was a place, it was very, very loving environment that we had. And then Xmas was taken out. And the other thing that bothered me a lot was when I remember when someone was in a traffic accident and there'd be a cross on the side of the road
Mhm.
to memorialize somebody lost their life or hey,
Mhm.
and you'd see it and you'd be like, oh, I better slow down
Mhm.
so that we don't have an accident too,
Right,
right? So they
right.
had two purposes. One is a memorial, two is like a warning to
Mhm.
prevent a future accident.
Mhm.
And I thought that was, and then somebody passed a law where the crosses had to be like 200 yards away from those. You could barely see them
Huh.
unless you had like a huge monument out there and nobody could do that.
Wow.
And it was, I thought it was just mean.
Mhm.
I was like, why do such a thing that
Mhm.
you pass a law like that? And there's these people who are, just trying to pull religion out of society
Right.
and make a more secular society wherein, again, if you don't have that set of values to fall back on
Mhm.
that are divinely inspired, then you are left with rules provided by the state or with your own internal desires guiding what direction you push yourself in. And it's led to some very, very negative consequences for our country.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, no, it's a shame.
Yeah.
But you did not explain how that led to wanting to be a clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Again, I'm really led by God. I
Mhm.
I want to be obedient to Him because that's the way I show my love for Him. Um, my life was changed when I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I've been living my life for Him ever since. So when it came time, again, I've always been behind the scenes. I was very active in the Clark County Republican Party. I helped to get the new leadership in place. I was part of the communications committee as well as the um, candidate development committee.
Okay.
I also have been with, Patriot Academy, teaching Constitution, teaching biblical citizenship, and we have a new course now called Rebuilding Liberty, which is specifically for the 250th birthday coming up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
excellent
no, I
programs. Yeah,
haven't seen that.
yeah. Well, I would love to share all this stuff with anybody
I would
who
appreciate
wants to do it. So as a matter of fact, you might want to consider as a campaign event doing one of these programs
it.
because I could do something
I
like
can't
that for
see
you.
why not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that. So Patriot Academy, and then also Turning Point. That's why I'm wearing my hat because memorial is Charlie Kirk. This is his favorite hat. Um, I was part. I am part of Turning Point USA Faith, which is the 501(c)(3) part. My church is a faith group here in Clark County. I'm also active in Turning Point Action, which is the 501(c)(4),
Okay.
and so that's the more
We have
packed,
steep.
more and grassroots, boots on the ground sort of thing. And they have different coalitions, and I was the chair of the Faith Coalition here in Clark County, and then my good friend Riley joined me as the co-chair. So
I see.
that's what we've been doing. And now that I'm running, though, I had to step down from that because you don't want to have any kind of you know conflict of interest, right? So
Well, sure, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But with all that, I was happy doing that stuff. I also just put together a big conference back in January called Battle of Born Freedom Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, had about 400 people come up to that. You had luminaries such as Rick Green, Tim Barton, Bill Federer, um, the guy who actually did the court case for Joe Kennedy. His name is Hiram Sasser. He came and spoke to us and told us the whole story. Just fantastic speakers. Um, that was what I did, and that's what I enjoyed doing. But then the Lord said, you got to put your money where your mouth is now because you're telling all these pastors to get involved with the government. So in this day, you need to actually run.
Well, all right.
So, as a model in a way for others, but then also, and the thing that kept coming back to me is to make Jesus famous in the public square because his name has been removed because of the separation of church and state, because of all these things. And part of what we need to do is to bring him back. That's part of standing for what's right, you
That's
know?
a fantastic mission, actually.
Yes,
Because that is what's missing from the public square.
indeed,
And
indeed.
people could use a dose of religion right now.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm so excited when, Trump proclaimed May 17th as our day to rededicate this country back to God.
Yes.
Did you know about that?
I did not know about.
Yes.
Yes.
So on the mall, we're gonna convene, hopefully, like 1,000,000 people, and
Wow.
we're all going to praise God and thank him for what he's doing in this country and rededicate the United States of America to him. Because again, the more you learn about the founding of our country, the more you realize this is a Christian nation because it was God leading them to do these things. And when you look at all of the true miracles that happened for everything to just kind of fall into place, and because remember when Washington led his revolutionary army, it's basically like the little island of Taiwan going up against the United States of America.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I mean, England was the supreme military power
Yeah.
of that
Dominated
time.
the world.
How did that happen? Right? And it was literally miracles. And those are documented. And so the more you learn about that, the more you realize, United States of America is exceptional, not in a proud kind of boastful way, but in the fact that we are the only country that was literally founded by God himself. I mean, you could say that, well, Israel, they're God's people. Well, yeah, but we are the ones that he created in order for us to continue on, his legacy and everything like that. So, anyways, getting back to Clark County Clerk. So I knew that I was supposed to run. That's out of obedience. Uh, and I just assumed, well, okay, I live in Assembly District 22, and it just so happens that the current assembly person is Melissa Hardy. I've met Melissa. She's a lovely lady. I really like her. But I wasn't sure how this is going to work because we'd be primarying each other and stuff like that. And I've been told that that would be very, very bad for the party in general. And so, I just took pause and thought about it. It's like, okay, well, what do you want? I ended up going to a conference in Florida that was put on by Paula White. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
I don't know her.
So you know that the White House now has this faith office,
Okay.
right? They literally go and pray for President Trump almost every day,
Okay.
and they actually have representatives in all the cabinet departments.
Okay.
Yeah. So, she runs the faith office,
Okay.
Paula White. So she had a conference which was a combination of her own ministry, the White House faith office, and this thing called the National Faith Advisory Board. And when I went to that, that's when I realized, oh yeah, I do need to run. So when I got back, I was conflicted because, I had already agreed to kind of let Melissa run, and I was just not going to, pursue it. But then I knew I had to, so I was out there for a couple weeks saying I'm running for 80-22. But then again, the peace just was not there. I mean, the way I know that God is directing me is if I just get this sense of groundedness and like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. And I just didn't have that feeling for this. So, it just so happened that that same, like, almost a day, the CCRP put out this email saying, "Hey, these are all the slots that there are no Republicans running." I mean, just tons. So we just are literally giving it away to the Democrats. And it just so happened, I mean, all the ones I were interested in, like, a school board and that kind of thing, I didn't live in the right place, or I've, the wrong side of the district, blah, blah, blah. But then I saw the Clark County offices, and, there was one for assessor. It's like, yeah, but assessor is all about, trying to understand, appraisals and stuff like that. I didn't do that. But the Clark County clerk all of a sudden is like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." And as it turns out, as a pastor, I'm actually a licensed officiant too. So I know the process, and I know how inefficient the whole thing is.
Oh, tell me.
It is incredibly inefficient because it's all paper-based. Yeah, I mean, there's this law right now where you have to, if you're gonna get married, both you and, your, supposed, your new partner has to go in front of a clerk in person,
Okay.
and it just takes forever, and sure, I think back in the day, you had to because that's how you could prove your identity, but now with the new software that's out
Mhm.
and the, artificial intelligence, like, just for instance, I updated my passport recently, and, they have this app, you just basically take pictures, and it authenticates you. It's
Huh.
amazing. So we have that kind of software. So I'm thinking to myself, well, let's update the system. You don't have to come in person. Just, have you and your, supposed spouse, come together, do this authentication, and then we'll give you the license.
So how does that play any role in the sort of the registering of the driver's licenses?
That's
Sort
DMV.
of,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
the
DMV.
okay,
Yeah, yeah. Well, the wedding thing is just strictly, marriage
okay.
and
That's
that
it.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So there's not an ID that comes through the county that can be used to vote, for instance?
No,
Okay.
that's just the DMV, so the state,
Okay.
right. Yeah, at this point, and that needs to be fixed too,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, the
So,
whole
the
voter ID
whole
thing
thing,
is,
the whole thing,
is,
it's terrible. And with that, we also take care of, like, public filings, so the public notary publics, they
okay,
have to come and bring their paperwork in and that kinda thing,
got it.
and, I just got an earful out of a friend of mine who's a notary public saying how broken this system is right now.
Huh.
Because even though they've got good hours, it's like 8 in the morning to midnight, especially for the wedding crowd and that kind of thing. The the notaries, they have to stand in the same line.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's super annoying. I mean, so you just
That's
have
so
to
many to process.
right, right. They just wanna drop it off and get on with their lives, but they have to stand in line for 2 hours. And it's like, "Oh, that's not right." So again, we could have an automated system,
Yeah.
using AI and
Mhm.
authentication, and it would just be so much smoother. Even banks now, right? You just take a picture of your check. We have that technology, so
Have you talked to any of the blockchain people? I'm sure that they would love to be involved in authenticating contracts that are valid and making
yep,
sure that
yep,
this is a legitimate version of the contract.
yep, yep,
And I mean that's an opportunity to kind of they would invest in modernizing the system
absolutely.
because Nevada could become sort of the prototype that they would use to go to sell that plan to other states.
I agree, I agree.
So
I'm very open to that conversation.
we had to
Yeah.
find somebody who's doing the blockchain stuff and send
Yeah,
them in Howell
yeah,
Shaw.
send it to me, right. So, with that, also, what else is going on? Well, it's just making the whole thing more efficient. As an officiant too, after we've done the ceremony, again, paper-based, we literally have to sign things in triplicate, put it into an envelope, and either mail it literally or drive to the Clark County offices and give it to them.
So it sounds like if people let you, there's going to be a whole lot of innovation in the clerk's command, which
Absolutely,
is going to make our lives faster and more efficient.
absolutely.
And that's outstanding. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking that on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited too because, again, it's like, God, why would you want me to do this? I don't see how I'm going to bring any righteousness to this situation. Well, marriage is a good thing because it's his invention, right?
Yeah.
And what he wants is people to get married for a lifetime, right? So we are already the wedding capital of the world, which is awesome, right? It's great for tourism, and it's great uh, to encourage that activity. So I thought to myself, okay, well, how can I bring more of God's righteousness? And it's like I came up with this idea. Well, actually, he gave me the idea. It's a program called Vegas Vows Forever.
Okay.
So the idea is once you get married in Las Vegas, you are now part of the Vegas Vows Forever program. And every time you come back to Vegas to celebrate your anniversary, we'll give you something like
That's
a
really
free
great.
dinner or, a free event, a free show. And then the longer you stay married, the nicer the presents get,
Wow.
you
You
know.
work for the Chamber of Commerce? That's fantastic. I love it. You need to get in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it makes a lot of sense, right? It would help everybody. So
That's
I'm
great.
excited about that
Uh-huh.
because, like I say, it encourages longevity in marriage.
That's
And
great.
that's on God's heart,
Yeah, for
for
sure
sure.
it is. For sure
Yeah.
it is. Wow, that's
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
That is beautiful. You know what? One of the things that they talk about is how to keep people married and how to encourage families. And one of the things that we were thinking about was and then people these days, are struggling with affordability and they're struggling with the burden of these huge home loans, or sorry, college loans.
Mhm.
But what if there was for people who decide to have a child together, that every year that the two stay together, their college debts are forgiven or reduced or something like
Oh,
that.
that's great. That's great.
And that way, I think you'll see a lot more two-family households, which
Yep.
is a big or two-parent households, which is a big thing, and maybe a lot of happier families.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a great idea. I see how this Vegas Vows Forever program could really blossom into something way bigger. Because if the goal is to help people stay married, well, again, why do people split? Why do families break? We can start addressing each of those
Yeah. Yeah.
issues and educate, right?
Vegas vows forever, and maybe they get a little text message every year, right? Hey, congratulations on getting married and staying together, and
That's right.
I want back to Vegas.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I knew it was God because it's such a good idea.
I'm definitely gonna endorse you.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
and Dr. Aury Nagy, and this is the Dr. Nagy Show. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm running for Nevada's third congressional district congressional seat. We're running to remove Susie Lee, and I'm here with Dr. Howell Shaw. Tell them how they can find you, Dr. Shaw.
So you can go to howellshaw.com. That's our website.
Uh,
And yeah, that's the best way to do it because
and
every, donate buttons there, contact me button there, everything, all my programs, and my platform is there as well. So,
and there were a couple other events that you were organizing recently that you wanted people to know about.
well, actually, yes, it's a little early, but because of the success of that Battleborn Freedom Conference,
Uh-huh.
I really feel like we're supposed to do it again this year.
Okay.
Because normally it's just, once a year, actually it's biannual. But in this case, because we need to keep the momentum going
Mhm.
so that people will still show up in November, I thought like we needed kind of a booster thing.
That makes
And
sense.
and it's in September, it turns out the 19th is a really good day because, well, first of all, no, September 10th, if anyone remembers, was the day that Charlie Kirk was martyred, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to celebrate him and just remember him. And then on the 17th is actually Constitution Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to combine all of that into our event on the 19th. We've already got Bill Federer signed up to come, Andrew and his wife Nolene Cedra. They are awesome. They're pastors from Australia. Again, Andrew was a Muslim in Egypt,
Okay.
but then he became a Christian.
Alright.
And but he knows all the inside stories. He knows the true
No, and
heart
I bet
of
he's got a lot
Islam,
of
right? So he's going to have a lot of things to say. We also have Steve Dace coming.
okay.
Yeah, so he's really an incredible journalist. He's with Glenn Beck's
Alright, yeah.
program as well. And then we have Rob McCoy, and Pastor Rob was Charlie's pastor.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if anyone watched, Charlie's memorial, he was the first guy to get up and he did the invocation. Yeah, so he's going to come and speak to us as well. And I'm still working on a couple other people, and it's gonna be an awesome event. And I'm trying to hold it in Henderson. So if anybody has a venue that could seat 1,000, let me know.
For when after Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated, this September, the devastating for so many people in America. It kind of signaled the death of free speech on college campuses, and college campuses are the place that people are supposed to be encouraged to have an open and honest discussion about the most controversial issues in the country.
Exactly.
And this terror attack was an attempt to silence that.
It was. It
And
was.
and so, what we thought we would do here in Las Vegas is we would invite the oldest and largest college debate society here
Oh.
to host a debate on whatever the two most controversial topics they could come up with, and then bring people from all the alumni organizations out here to watch these college kids to appreciate that you can watch people and listen with open ears
Mhm.
to people debating difficult topics, presenting facts, and in respectful fashion, and come
Mhm.
away in an attempt to try to learn something,
Mhm.
with the goal that we're going to be improving our community based on this.
I love it. I
So it's
love
going
it.
to be next week on the 18th at the UNLV Boyd School of Law. The Yale Political Union is going to come down. And that's where William Buckley did his training,
Mhm.
and we're looking forward to a very big turnout, and we're hoping that they maybe get some media coverage, and that it starts to set an example of the way things can be done, the way things used to be done, and the way things should be done in the future in
Mm.
terms of encouraging critical thought on
I love it.
campuses.
That's
I mean,
big.
that's what I think, more than anything else, Charlie Kirk was about.
Exactly right. Exactly right. You know.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
I really
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
This podcast is a campaign communication paid for by Nagy for Congress and authorized by me, Dr. Nagy. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the campaign or its affiliates. Discussions are intended for informational and conversational purposes only and do not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Any references to public policy matters reflect general positions and priorities at the time of the recording and are subject to change based on legislative process and voter input.